This week's reading on exemplary leadership hit close to home with me because it outlined an approach to a problem that I've been having in my job lately. I thought I would use this entire presentation to talk about this one text and relate it to my work experience. I will tie in the reading from the action research text to my capstone presentation for this week. Before I can tell you about how we are addressing a problem, I'd like to tell you a little about what the problem is. Yale University purchased an arts management software program a little over a year ago from the Metropolitan Opera. The program is called Tessitura, and it is the software program that the Met uses to manage its concert ticket office, contact information, and donor database. Yale University purchased the program for the School of Drama and the School of Music to use for ticketing to their events. About 6 months after using the program strictly for ticketing, Yale Drama began to use the program to its full extent. They maintained their development and donor databases on Tessie, as well as their contact information for all alums, faculty, staff, concert goers. Basically anyone who had ever had contact with the drama school was now on file in Tessitura. Not wanting to fall too far behind the curve, the School of Music began to explore ways in which Tessie could be beneficial to our school. It is safe to say that the introduction of Tessie to the School of Music staff was a complete failure. Staff found it difficult to manage. The training sessions were dense and confusing. The format was so different from the previous system that it took twice as long to manipulate the information. The problem was magnified when several of the senior administration made it known that they too found the program difficult. This just fed the fire of the staff's complaints, and Tessitura eventually filtered out and burned in the School of Music. So understanding that background, here we go. The text first talks about taking the initiative of leadership. It says that many people lead because it's part of their job description, but that true leaders step up to the plate even when they are not part of the official leadership team. At the School of Music, this person is Elizabeth. Elizabeth is my assistant. Actually, she was my assistant, but I'll explain that later. Elizabeth was not part of the management team and instead worked as part of the support staff. But when she saw the staff rebelling against the Tessitura program, she decided that if no one else liked the program, she could make a name for herself if she was the only person who learned to use it. So she began to attend Tessitura training courses. I mean, every course that Yale offered on Tessitura, Elizabeth was front and center. For months she studied the system. She slowly and single-handedly began moving all of our development information into the Tessitura program. Within 6 months, our entire school was up and running in Tessitura thanks to Elizabeth, and no one knew about it. The next thing Elizabeth did was begin to very casually introduce the program to other staff members. Whenever someone had a question about information, Elizabeth would just casually drop into the conversation that she had the information stored in Tessitura. She also began to drop hints to other assistants and support staff, saying things like, you know, Tessitura can generate that spreadsheet for you, and it's actually more complete than that Excel file. And then she would share her knowledge. Before they knew what was happening, over half the staff was utilizing Tessitura on a daily basis. Elizabeth had taken the initiative in making Tessitura work, and then she encouraged the same action from others. The next thing that Elizabeth did was exactly what the book outlines. The book says that you should make the challenges meaningful and that you should do this by encouraging fresh ideas and perspectives. Elizabeth made Tessitura meaningful to the staff by demonstrating how useful the program actually was once she became accustomed to it. She did this by explaining that the program was not to replace our old software, but to use with the old software. When she explained it from this perspective, the staff began to see it not just as something new they had to learn, but as another resource available to them to help them do their jobs. It's like this picture. I'm sure you've all seen this before. Look at the image, and the first thing that most people see is an old woman. But if you look at it from a different perspective, you can also see a young woman in the picture. This is what Elizabeth did for Tessitura. She drew attention to a different set of possibilities and sold it to the staff based on this. The next thing that the book says is to take baby steps in the process and to celebrate even the small things. Elizabeth once again helped us to do this by slowly introducing the program to the staff. She didn't shove it in their faces and say that this is the new way, now deal with it. which sadly I have to say is how the first administration gave it to us. Instead, she showed it to people a little at a time, and only when they needed to know information about it. First, how helpful the contact database was, then how nice the development spreadsheets were. She slowly unfolded all the potential so that people were able to warm up to the program. Once I saw what she was single-handedly doing, I mentioned it to our associate dean, and we began working with Elizabeth to set up monthly Tessitura meetings in our school. We meet once a month now with anyone who is using Tessitura, and usually we have lunch and share what problems people are having with the system, what updates are becoming available, and any new ways that people are starting to use the program. These active, casual lunchtime conversations celebrate our usage of the program and keep everyone excited about using it. The text warns that even following all of these steps will not ensure an entirely smooth change, but that part of the process is learning from mistakes and preparing mentally to deal with setbacks. We had our first major setback with Tessitura 2 weeks ago. We decided that after Elizabeth's much successful relaunch of the Tessitura at the School of Music, we should put our summer music program on the system as well. The problem was that the summer music program, which is in Norfolk, Connecticut, uses all Mac computers. We didn't realize until we were up and running that Tessitura is not actually Mac compatible. So here we have an entire branch of our organization isolated out in Norfolk, Connecticut, reliant on this software that their computers can't run. It was a nightmare. Concert tickets weren't being generated, donations weren't being tracked, it was a mess. But Elizabeth was right there, once again, to remind us that this was not a permanent problem, it was simply something to learn from. Now we know, you need a PC to run Tessitura. Looking back at this whole process, Elizabeth was truly a spectacular leader. She took initiative. She encouraged others to participate. She made challenge meaningful by providing a new perspective on the problem. She took baby steps and encouraged everyone along the way, and she worked through problems with a mindset that learning from a problem is just part of the process. In the end, we promoted Elizabeth last week to be our Tessitura administrator. Her entire position is now as the Tessitura guru of our organization. It's a testament not only to her leadership abilities, but to how important the program has become to our organization. Now we are actually creating positions to work this program. I'm so proud to work with someone like Elizabeth, and I'm really happy that she's moving up in the world because of her leadership abilities.